I'm Jeff Myers, and welcome to Elgin Today. On this edition,
our honor to talk with one of Elgin's most well-known citizens, Betty Brown. Betty tells us about her recent induction into a nationally known Hall of Fame, and she has more stories for us on Elgin Today. We talk with Elgin Police Department Commander Adam Schuessler as this time capsule inside the police station contains masks and other items from COVID-19 year of 2020. The capsule, locked in time, will be opened in the year 2050. And speaking of 2020 and COVID-19, the Mayor David Captain segment includes Carol Gieske, the president of the Elgin Area Chamber. The mayor and Carol talk about how the Elgin business community has been affected by the virus.
We'll have these stories and more on this edition of Elgin Today. On this segment of Elgin Today, we're delighted to talk with Betty Brown. Betty Brown, Corey Dixon council member, called you a legend the other day, and you are indeed, my dear. Betty, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very, very much. I am honored to be interviewed by you.
You've done so much for Elgin. How do you feel?
I feel good.
You look great. You look too handsome and too good looking for me. I got to step away.
Thank you.
You have held out a wonderful story. A few years ago, you were voted into a Hall of Fame. Tell me about the Hall of Fame and tell me the honor you got, especially during this month of February with Black History Month.
I was invited to be a hostess, and then they put me in the Hall of Fame, the history makers.
Wow.
And my picture and my bio is at Smithsonian in Washington, D.C.
So they're loaded with museums. So if we go to the Washington, D.C. and look at the museum there.
Black History.
We'll see you, Betty Brown, Elgin, Illinois, right there. Is that right?
Yes. Little old Betty Brown.
And that came about. They just knew of your great community work. How did they approach you with that?
They knew of my Julian heard about, or she knew about me by doing community work and volunteering. Because I was in a lot of things.
Oh gosh, there's nothing that happened in Elgin in your time frame that you weren't involved with.
Well, in Chicago too.
Yeah, in Chicago as well.
Yes.
So congratulations on that.
Thank
The
you.
Smithsonian Institute. They have many museums. You are in one of those.
This
is the first time. You're
the museum in Washington, D.C.
Oh, right there. And you haven't told that to a lot of Elginites, have you?
No, a lot of people don't know it.
Well, they do now, right here in Elgin Today. 1984, that year is important. What happened that year?
In 1984, I'm in Newsweek magazine as the Mentor of the Year.
Wow.
I was a makeup artist and the wardrober for Miss Illinois.
Wow. And they realized that you were the great mentor right there, and can continue with that story. That story's not over yet, because the Miss Illinois pageant, sometimes that was held in Elgin. Yeah, Emmons.
And the winner would go on to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And I was in Las Vegas for 4 years. Sometimes they would stop me and think I was a pageant person.
Oh, I would think.
I never wanted to be a pageant person. I like to help.
I heard you won it one year. This is a surprise to me. That was the Miss America pageant.
Yes, it was.
Involved into that, so that's the one everybody knows. Before that,
it was scholarship pageant.
Yes, with scholarship, so that's wonderful. So you're many stories with that. There's no question that you're loaded with such good stories. You've done so much for the city of Elgin. What story comes to mind involving Elgin, all you've done over the years?
Well, I'm on the ECC. I'm an emeritus because I served 20 years as an emeritus. And I taught manners class in Elgin.
Wow.
At the YWCA and the YMCA and Judson.
I should have been involved in that class.
And my class was called Mind Your Manners, or Maybe Your Mother Was Right.
And there's an award in the city for Elgin with your name on it. Tell me how that evolved.
I'm awarded the Image Award of Elgin.
Yeah, you got that. But also there's
the YWCA.
The YWCA people qualify for the Betty Brown Award. Is that right?
Yes. Racial Justice Award. It's been named after me.
Wow. We did a radio show years. Remember that? Out and About with Betty Brown?
Yes.
I was with you for a while. It
yes,
was great.
I would interview celebrities, and you were one of them.
You had Mr. and Mrs. Jack Brickhouse on one time.
Yes.
You had the Cups and It's On.
Yes.
You would just pick up the phone and call Hollywood, and we would talk with folks.
Well, I knew a lot of people.
Betty, do you have any thoughts for the young folks out there for this Black History Month?
Get involved and know your heritage.
Wonderful. Did we leave anything out? Do you want to tell the folks? Did you forget about anything that you've done? You've done so much.
No.
Don't be modest now.
I can't think of anything. Oh, I sang it for the Cubs.
Oh,
and I didn't have to audition. I sang the Star Spangled Banner.
Was that the Harry Carey years?
Yes.
Oh, so he was there. He said, hey,
Yes,
you're a good-looking singer, he would say.
And I was so frightened because they say you always miss some words. I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
And I had perfect pitch, and I was just perfect that day.
Perfect pitch. No question about that.
The Lord was with me.
All right. Well, and Floyd's doing well. Floyd's doing well.
Yes, he is. Yes,
Floyd Brown, the legend, at the Walk of Fame at the WGN Radio.
Yes,
We were there in
yes.
2016 when he won that.
Yes.
So he's such a great. You two kids are 1-2 in the city of Elgin. There's no question about it.
Thank you.
Betty Brown. Thanks, Betty.
It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's exciting. Thanks for being out here.
Thank
This is an outdoor studio. Do you like that?
Thank you.
All right. We're going to say goodbye and get a chance to say goodbye to Betty Brown once again, and that's going to be our segment here in the month of February with the well-known, tell me your whole name.
Mary Elizabeth Brown.
Did you know that? Betty Brown, we call her. Thanks, Betty.
Thank you.
It's time now for our February segment with Mayor David Captain. Mayor, we're inside in Toasty today, aren't we?
We are, Jeff, and it's anniversary almost for all of us in one way, and not in the best way. It's been about 1 year since we had our first COVID cases identified in the United States, and back in March of last year, we declared an emergency situation in Elgin, and we started to change the way that we were doing business, and businesses started to close. And today, my guest is Carol Gieske, and we'd like to talk a little bit about how businesses, how the chamber have adapted to the issues that have faced them, and isolation that's required, the Zoom meetings and things like that we've all gone through. And we do a thing called the President's Council and discuss issues and people talk about what they do in their business. And we have such a wide, diverse business platform in Elgin that they all do different things, and they all had some great ideas as to what they did to survive. And I had asked Carol Gieske, president of the chamber, executive director of the chamber, to come with us today and talk a little bit about some of those things.
We love her stories. She's been in charge of 9 years now for the chamber, and she has wonderful stories for us.
Okay, Carol, it's good to have you. And we've talked a lot with some businesses and how we started out, and how's the chamber adapted, and what kind of changes have you had to make?
Well, Mayor, thanks for the invitation today, Jeff. It's just a pleasure to be here. We've all gone through such changes in this last year. It's interesting that you say it's a year anniversary today that we started this long trial of all new way of operating businesses in the community. You submitted your emergency status here in March, and as a result of that, many businesses closed down immediately. We have thousands and thousands of businesses in the area, and people ask, well, what's the state of business? It's hard to say because it's dependent upon that sector. Mary, you've been out at retailers, you've seen what's happened. We all know what's happening with the restaurants. Yeah. As of last night, the state moved us to Tier 2 in Elgin and Kane County and Cook County, the suburbs. So we now have the opportunity for Grand Victoria Casino to come back online, Marcus Theater to come back online with some of the restrictions still in place, of course, and the restaurants still continuing to adapt to be able to service individuals, to do carryouts and that they've done before, but maybe the outdoor dining, which they hadn't done before we got into the cold of the winter. So there's been a lot of adaptations. As you said, we met with our President's Council on a monthly basis when this started and learned from different businesses how they adapt. So some businesses like SureWorks here in town got a call from the White House and said we need more PPP. As a result of that, they ramped up, and Chris and his staff were able to produce more PPP than ever before. So you see that response that's happened with a large manufacturer. We've had manufacturers like JBBS, San Filippo, Fisher Nuts. Of course, everyone's home baking. Have you been baking?
Constantly.
And Mayor, I'm sure you put some nuts into some cookies.
I do eat a lot of them.
Okay, there you go. So we see where Fisher Nuts has had a great year. They're still hiring. They're looking for people.
Wonderful.
But part of what they're facing is, can they use robotics in the workplace? They had scheduled that they would start looking at robotics for their firm. With COVID, now they've ramped that up a little bit to explore how they can use robotics within the workforce. When we started all of this, we saw unemployment skyrocket to almost 19% here in Elgin. It's now come down to about 7%, what it was pre-COVID. So many of our employers, from the very largest employer to the very smallest employers, are still looking for people. And that's encouraging to see what's happening as well.
And Mayor, that Tier 2 announcement in about January 18th that affects how we look at City Hall and other places like that, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Public buildings are closed, and had closed, and we had closed and we opened, and it was kind of off and on. And I think that's one of the things that I found in dealing with business leaders. And when they come to Elgin, they love Elgin because of the consistency. When you can't offer the consistency, people pull their horns in, and businesses will slow down. And it's just like anything else. If you're worried about your job, you're not going to go out and buy a new house. You're going to wait and say, well, we'll sit here where we're at. And I think businesses are the same way. And we need to recognize some of the great things that they've done and to adapt to this. And they managed to stay in business. They managed to keep many of their employees. We've had to furlough people and things at City Hall. Many of the other municipalities have the same type of problem. And we are, I look at us as a business, but as a not-profit, one that never makes any money. But not a good thing from Carol's standpoint and from the business community.
True.
That's not what they're directed to. That's what we do.
Have a lot of businesses come to you, Carol, to sit down and ask for help?
We have had the honor of working with so many different businesses, especially in the area of assistance that might be available, the PPP grants and the Kane County COVID grants. So we really have been at the forefront trying to make sure that people understood that money might be available to them, what is the process, and make sure that they follow the guidelines and the timetable too, because those are important. So as we speak today, the second round of PPP opens up for all financial institutions. So I know many of them are gearing up to work with their customers as well as new customers on trying to get those applications in for federal assistance.
You get so many questions from everybody, even the sporting folks. Can we get back to playing sports, don't you, Mayor?
Exactly. And is that something that's going to be our team sports going to be available? One of the big things we do is the softball and the sports complex.
Big event.
Are they? We can't say. We can't answer that right now. And that's the problem for them. They want to schedule some of these things, look out for many, many months to schedule events and to do the planning. And we're talking about our last year when we canceled all our events for the city, the Nightmare on Chicago Street, the 4th of July. And we'll be looking at the same thing this year because the advanced planning takes so long, you just don't have time to finish it if it starts up. So we have to make decisions. And I think that we're seeing people that we see a shift, and some businesses, and we'll take the restaurant business. And Carol and I had conversations with one of the major fast food people. Their business is going great guns. But they've had carry out forever, and the smaller businesses suffered, but their businesses, the carry out business, is doing great guns for them. So there's a little bit of a shift in some of those things, and we'll see what happens. And if we go back to the way things were totally, and I guess I've always been you don't go through something like this and come out unchanged.
Sure.
And I think people are expecting it to go back, and we're going to just turn a switch and go back to the way things were. And I can't see how that's going to happen here.
It would take a period of time no matter what, wouldn't it?
Well, absolutely. And what's been interesting is during 2020, there was a lot of engagement of new businesses coming into the community or expanding within the community. So through our Elgin Development Group, our economic development partnership with the city, Tony Lusenko, our staff is working to make sure we get that information out to potential developers. There's about 1.6 million square feet available. There are 7 projects right now between 35,000 and 200,000 square feet that are looking at Elgin's buildings that are available, the speculative spec buildings that we have, and potentially taking some action between now and the summertime. So we are a destination, we remain a destination, and that's one of the best things that the City Council and the Mayor under his leadership has made this a pro-business community. People know we have employees here, people know we do things well, that this is a destination for their businesses.
Well said. We're down to about 90 seconds, Mayor.
I think one last thing, we have to be prepared for what's going to happen. And Carol and I, and this is a partnership. And even though that we pay and we have a contract with them, a purchase of service agreement, I look at this as a partnership. And we have to look forward to next year. And one of the things I did a brief interview with Aaron Neal, our snow command. And he was out at the metro station at Big Timber Road. And they have almost 600 parking spaces out there. They've got numbers out there. And he was out there in the middle of the day to see how the snow was plowed, and there were about 45 cars out there. And I think that there's going to be a shift here. That when this is done, people are going to say, "Hey, working from home ain't so bad. And maybe the businesses see it as a good thing. And one of the things we learned at the President's Council, one of our major employers here is an accounting firm, and he said that he's seen across the country and the people they look at, that even though their revenues are lower, their profits were higher. And businesses will look at that at the end of the day. We've got to look at the bottom line, and that's kind of what our approach is going to be.
That's fascinating, because a lot of major companies working at home, and they probably won't really go back if you work like at a United rather than going to Chicago. You can work at home.
Absolutely,
it does
yeah.
make it
And
efficient.
it puts
Less
makes
pollution,
people's-
less cars are out.
It adds a couple of hours of home time to people's days, and I think we're going to sort our way through it. And there are going to be some changes here for us in business, as how we do business and how businesses operate.
And we'd like to see you at home more often as well.
Well, we're very fortunate. We've been back, our staff's been back in the office. We are
Wonderful.
separated in separate offices. We aren't holding right now any meetings in our conference rooms. We went all virtual like everyone else did. The mayor and I were talking about ribbon cuttings and how few ribbon cuttings we've had because we want a social distance and we're adhering to the restrictions that are in place. As we move forward, all of us, including the not-for-profits who have not had the ability to do their events, which are so integral to the survival of those nonprofits, will hopefully begin to be able to take those from an offline into an opportunity where we can be together again, gathered safely soon.
Wonderful. President of the Elgin Area Chamber of Commerce, Carol Gieseke. Wonderful guest. Mayor, we're out of time.
Jeff, thank you very much. We'll look forward to seeing you next month.
All right. We're always comfortable when you're with us.
Okay.
We
we're
love to
good.
watch you on TV. You know that.
All right. We're good.
Carol, thanks a lot. We appreciate that.
My
Great
pleasure.
work in all cases.
Thank you so much.
That's our segment for February with your mayor, David Campton. We're outside the Elgin Police Station for an interesting story with Commander Adam Schusler. And Adam, you've got something that we are going to tuck away for 30 years. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we recognize the historic significance of 2020 and the challenges that we all faced, and we wanted to memorialize kind of some of the things that went into getting through 2020. So we created a time capsule, and we added some things that would be representative of 2020, and we put them in the time capsule.
And you guys got together. Tell me, we got a picture right here of some of the stuff, but it's in the capsule now. It's capsule singular. But tell me what you put in there, what you guys decided.
Well, like I said, Jeff, we put a lot of stuff that will remind you of 2020, and the plan is to open it in 2050, so at the mid-century point. And some of those things would be, I'm sure, things that everybody struggled with in 2020, like finding masks and toilet paper.
1-2 punch.
Hand sanitizer.
Take my temperature. You always have the temperature.
Yep. We have a thermometer in there.
You guys put in money, like a 20, a nickel, and a penny, and a quarter. Do you think we're on a different system by then?
We don't know. It's 30 years from now, so maybe money's dealt with it in a different way, in a different manner.
We don't see it anywhere.
Right? 30 years ago, we didn't see Bitcoin, and now we have Bitcoin, so who knows what 30 years is going to bring.
You guys also put in some pictures. You guys got out a lot this year with masks on, didn't you?
We did. We tried to still continue to engage the community, work with the community, be responsive to the community, and we did have our protests, and they were peaceful protests, and we wanted to reflect that. We wanted to reflect what the community sentiment was, and that our work with the community is important, and we believe in it.
And also with your parades, you went to every part of the community, every section of the community with great parades for the police department, didn't you?
We did. We partnered with the fire department, some of the tow companies, and tried to bring some excitement to some young people in town and get people out of their houses, even just for a minute.
Amiguitos, buenas tardes, buenos días. Nos encontramos aquí en Elgin, en el parque de Festival Park. Y hoy tenemos nuestra gran compañía de nuestra querida Karina, que está aquí con una organización que se llama Apple. Platícanos, Cari, un poquito de qué es Apple para decir a las personas que no sepan de la comunidad.
Sí, mira, Apple es una organización sin fines de lucro que se llama Elgin Partnership for Early Learning, y nuestra meta es ayudar a los padres que están en Elgin a conectarlos con recursos para que sus niños estén listos para entrar al kinder.
¿Y esto es para todas las personas o tienen que estar inscritos de alguna forma? ¿Cómo se van a dar cuenta qué es? ¿Dónde se pueden registrar? ¿Cómo pueden ser parte de esta organización o si necesitan información?
Sí, es para toda la comunidad, cualquier persona que tenga un niño menor de 5 años que quiera prepararlo para el kinder o que esté buscando dónde meterlo para preescolar, o si están buscando una organización para cuidado de niños, pueden contactar a Apple llamando al 844 Kid Info.
Okay. 844 Kid Info es un número que de veras es importante. Yo sé que hacen muchas cosas en la comunidad, siempre escucho que andan tratando de conectar a los papás, haciendo diferentes cosas. Una de las cosas que han hecho es que traten de estar aquí, tenerlos un poquito activos, qué se pueden hacer para que los niños se desarrollen bien, físicamente, emocionalmente, mentalmente, y eso es algo que la verdad se nota mucho.
Sí, nuestra organización nos sentimos muy orgullosos de poder estar aquí en la comunidad y tratar de involucrar a los padres y a la comunidad, a los niños a aprender desde que comienzan, desde que nacen, ¿verdad? Desde que son bebés, desde que están en la
que se van desarrollando diferentes.
Sí, les podemos leer y ellos, están escuchando, o venir al parque, por ejemplo, es una actividad que se pueden hacer. Este parque tiene diferentes, aquí estos
los columpios
y luego también tenemos aquí para que puedan aprender, para que los padres puedan jugar con los niños, diferentes actividades. También busquen diferentes oportunidades para aprender con los niños.
Te voy a pedir que te pases un poquitito porque viene el tren. En sí, el Apple nos ha hecho el favor de ayudarnos, y una de las formas que lo ha hecho es por medio del calendario. Y sé que ese calendario tiene mucha información que nos va a beneficiar a los papás, a los niños. Platícanos un poquito en sí, qué es el calendario, para quién es, y unos pocos detalles de qué consiste.
Sí, mira, el calendario aquí está, nuevecito del 2021.
Para este año.
Para este año. Comenzando el año, aquí tenemos, mira, estamos en febrero. Muchas actividades para los papás para que puedan hacerlo con los hijos. Mira, tenemos el martes de colores, que salgan y buscan cosas de color rosa. Entonces, para que los niños identifiquen los colores, las letras, los sonidos, todo tipo de cosas. También tenemos recomendaciones para libros. Sabemos que los papás también muchas veces se aburren del mismo libro.
Sí.
Aquí hay diferentes ideas, variedad. Y también consejos para los papás, juegos y diferentes recursos. Si los papás quieren meter a sus niños a un programa de preescolar para que estén preparados para el kinder, aquí hay información de cómo hacer eso. Y también tenemos diferentes actividades aquí, y todo es gratis. Sí, todo
¿Y dónde
gratis.
pueden conseguir en sí los calendarios?
Mira, en 2 lavanderías ahorita los tienen, en Jet Express, que está en la Dundee, aquí en Elgin, y en Blue Kangaroo, que está en la Summit.
Y también están en diferentes agencias, en la ciudad, en diferentes lugares.
En el ayuntamiento, en City Hall, ahí tenemos. Y también tenemos en la biblioteca. Y también lo pueden bajar online, en línea, en nuestro sitio web de elginpartnership.org.
Pues Apple nos ha hecho tantas cosas, que nos ha ayudado tanto en el aspecto de cómo ayudar a nuestros hijos a desarrollar su mente y todo eso. La verdad, con el calendario es otro objeto que nos está ayudando, es que realmente no pierdan la oportunidad de agarrarlo. Es gratis para todas las personas. Si no saben dónde, pueden preguntar y te pueden llamar también al 311, también nos pueden decir hasta dónde, ¿verdad?
Sí, mira, y es un recurso gratis. Muchas comunidades no tienen este recurso, y nuestra meta es que todos los niños en Elgin estén preparados para el kinder.
Se aseguren que sus hijos estén preparados en sí para que puedan desarrollarse bien, y en sí poder sobrellevar todo lo que tienen que llevar, especialmente ahorita que hemos estado aprendiendo en otra forma.
Sí, mira, y hablando de eso, muchos niños están ahorita en la escuela virtual desde la casa, y este es un recurso muy bueno para los papás, para tratar de poner una variedad para que no se aburran todos en la casa.
Que no pierdan la oportunidad de agarrar su calendario al 2021, este año va a ser diferente.
Sí, para niños de edades desde chiquitos hasta 5 años.
De 3 a 5 más o menos,
Sí,
2 a 5.
5.
Oh, muy bien, pues ya saben, ¿dónde conseguirlos?
Los tenemos en City Hall, en el ayuntamiento. Y
hay muchas organizaciones que nosotros estamos tratando de ayudar a distribuirlos.
En la biblioteca es otro lugar. También lo puede bajar en línea.
Oh, también.
Online. Está en el sitio web de Apple, elginpartnership.org. Y ahí lo puede bajar si lo quiere tener en su teléfono para más fácil.
Ok, y realmente eso es muy bueno. Y gracias, porque en sí la organización de Apple es lo que lo hacen. Trabajan muy duro para que así este calendario, que nos puede ayudar en diferentes formas para nuestra familia, recursos, y realmente también asegurar cómo vamos en las fechas, porque a veces se nos bota la canica y ya no sabemos ni en qué día estamos. Pero realmente este año, que tiene que ser otro año ya en sí, porque de por sí este año que pasó ha sido muy difícil. Y hablando de eso, un poquito de información, cómo vamos con la ciudad, algunos cambios o algo, Cari.
De hecho, vamos a seguir, si seguimos dando los servicios en línea, Cualquier pregunta que tengan pueden llamar al 311, al departamento de 311 de
¿Y
la
tienen
ciudad.
alguien en español ahí, si
Sí,
acaso?
por supuesto.
Pues
tenemos
siempre
gente
utilicen
bilingüe.
esa información porque
Sí.
nos lo ponen a nosotros para que así nosotros podamos tener esa accesibilidad de poder preguntar unas dudas que tengamos.
Sí, y por favor sigan usando su mascarilla,
No se la pierdan.
protéjense, lávense las manos y seguimos adelante.
Sí, porque con este virus que aún no se nos ha quitado, ya sé que andamos llegando ahorita con en sí la vacuna, pero todavía todos no lo vamos a tener. Tenemos que tener cuidado con ese aspecto de mantener la distancia,
Sí.
máscaras, lavarnos las manos, comer saludable, dormir mucho, dormir bien. Eso es bien importante todavía mantener eso.
Sí,
Es
claro.
que muchas gracias por estar con nosotros,
Sí,
tanta
a ti.
información. Vengan a disfrutar el parque, asegurar que utilizamos estos calendarios porque realmente es algo muy beneficial y han trabajado tanto lo que es APO y todas las organizaciones, las escuelas, porque también el Distrito 46 ayudó también
Sí.
y cosas así que nos ayudan para que nuestros hijos estén desarrollándose bien, apropiadamente. Si hay algunas preguntas, pues tenemos a dónde ir a recurrir.
Sí, queremos que todos los niños en Elgin estén listos para entrar al kinder.
Para que estén más listos y ya.
Sí.
Gracias por estar con nosotros.
Sí,
Hasta
gracias
luego,
a
hasta
ti.
pronto. Adiós.
Hasta luego.
Amiguitos, ¿cómo se encuentran todos? Estamos hoy en la estación de policía de Elgin, que se encuentra aquí en Douglas, y hoy tengo un gran placer de tener con nosotros una gran amiga, María Borrero, que está con nosotros. Y realmente María tiene mucha experiencia en la comunidad y relaciones públicas. Y una cosa que eres nueva aquí en la policía, platícanos en sí lo que es tu papel ahora, que estás trabajando aquí en el departamento de policías de Elgin.
Claro que sí, pues como les dijo Elisa, mi nombre es María Borrero, estoy muy emocionada de estar aquí, ser parte de la comunidad.
Bienvenida, porque realmente es una gran comunidad que tenemos aquí en Elgin.
Gracias, sí. Hace 12 años mi familia se mudó a Elgin desde Puerto Rico. Soy completamente bilingüe, me enorgullece mucho mis raíces latinas y estamos aquí para precisamente hacer presencia, pero también involucrar y envolver a la comunidad en todos los proyectos que tenemos con la policía.
Ajá.
Así que mi rol como tal, mi título es coordinadora
Ajá.
de la comunidad. Así que tenemos que tener en cuenta que hay muchas diferentes áreas y diferentes estrategias para todas las edades. No queremos dejar una comunidad...
Excluir a nadie.
Exacto.
Cierto.
Hay cierto enfoque para la gente de edad avanzada, la gente senior,
Ajá.
pero también una de las estrategias que estamos buscando implementar es añadir a la comunidad latina que se sientan incluidos, que reciban información en español y que también puedan continuar a ser parte de nuestros recursos y nuestras estrategias.
Y para eso tú tienes un programa nuevo que estás tratando de desarrollar. Platícanos un poquito de eso, porque realmente todos deben de tratar de saber y ser parte de esto, porque queremos sentirnos parte de la comunidad y también parte de la estación de policía, saber que estamos trabajando en unión, que es bien importante para nuestra comunidad.
Exactamente.
¿Cómo estás tratando de llevar eso a cabo?
Ok, por primera vez el Departamento de Policía de Elgin queremos obtener información o obtener información de contacto para las familias o personas que solamente se comunican en español o que tengan un poquito de dificultad con el inglés, para que la información que pase aquí, eventos, recursos, pueda ser llevada a ellos vía email. Ahora, como sabemos, con las restricciones que tenemos, no hay muchos eventos en persona, pero como quiera necesitamos mantenernos educados, seguros, y ser parte de la comunidad requiere también colaborar con agencias como la policía, ¿verdad?
¿Y qué información van a necesitar para inscribirse? ¿Se tienen que registrar? ¿Qué se necesita?
Facilito, nada de información personal, solamente nombre, apellido y correo electrónico.
Que es bien privado, que realmente no hay nada de riesgo en ese aspecto.
Solamente yo voy a recibir la información y con esa información yo voy a crear una lista de correos electrónicos en donde voy a poder enviar flyers, promociones de eventos, recursos, y como le dije, toda la información en español, pero también buscamos recursos bilingües, ¿verdad? Cómo podemos integrar a eventos que tengan recursos, porque aquí hay muchos oficiales bilingües, incluso uno de nuestros comandantes es hispano, así que queremos que la comunidad se sienta representada y se sienta en confianza.
Incluidos también, ¿verdad?
Incluidos.
Entonces es algo que podemos hacer, aseguren que tengan esa información. Muchas gracias, pues bienvenida a nuestra comunidad, de verdad es una amiga bien linda que tenemos súper emoción de tenerte aquí con nosotros.
Gracias.
Que muchas gracias por todo lo que vas a estar por hacer y desarrollar. Como comunidad la vamos a apoyar y estar aquí, es que bienvenida y muchas gracias por todo. Y hasta pronto, adiós.
Bye.
For more information, please visit cityofelgin.org. Para más información, por favor visite a nuestra página cityofelgin.org. Don't forget, for city service inquiries, use 311. Call, click, connect. Para preguntas sobre servicios de la ciudad, no olvide utilizar 311. Llamar, textear y conectar.